Good morning, or excuse me, good afternoon. It's Wednesday, February 3rd, 2021. Welcome to 7 to 9 minutes to look at the New Testament letter of James. My name is Brian, one of the co-pastors at Converge Church in Omaha. Our webpage is convergechurchomaha.org, and you can also go to Facebook. We have a Converge Church Omaha Facebook page, and we encourage you to like that as well. Today we're going to continue 7 to 9 minutes in the book of James. The letter of James, again, is in the New Testament, follows the book of Hebrews, and is right before 1st and 2nd Peter, just kind of as we're getting towards the end of the Bible. Last time we looked at chapter 2, verses 14 to 17, where James introduced this subject of our faith being backed up and that is proved by our good works, by our good deeds. In other words, faith and works, and we say works are good deeds, spiritual fruit. Faith and works go hand in hand. Faith without works, according to verse 14, is dead. And so James is going to continue this subject beginning in verse 15, and it will take us to the very end of chapter 2. And so let's begin in verse 15. But someone will say, "You have faith, and I have works." So here's a hypothetical person. That person is saying, "I've got my works, and I'm good. You've got your faith, and that's good. And we're both fine. I'll do the works, you do the faith, and things are going to get done in this world." And the reality is that we're not fine. James goes on again in verse 15, and he says, writes, "Give me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you my faith by my works." So again, faith and works, faith and good deeds go together, they go hand in hand. James then gives the example of demons in verse 19. Verse 19 says, "You believe that God is one, you do well. Even the demons believe and they shudder." So James says, if you believe that God is one, that is, that there's only one God, that's good. That's an orthodox teaching of Christianity, but it's not enough just to know that, just to believe that. Because he says, even the demons believe that there's only one God and they tremble. The belief system of the demons is pretty orthodox. They don't have the good works, they don't have genuine faith, but they do believe in the right things. They believe in one God, but it doesn't prove that they're believers, true believers. It doesn't prove that they are saved. And so just belief, and even correct belief, is at times not adequate if there's no good works to back it up. And so James asks this question in verse 20: "Do you want to be shown, you foolish person, that faith apart from works is useless?" Do you want to be shown, you foolish person? I like that. Some say that this was a sermon that James preached in a synagogue. And I can imagine, I preached last Sunday. What if I would say, "You fools," or, things like that. Um, but he uses the word foolish person, that faith apart from works is useless. And James goes on then and gives two solid examples on how faith and works go hand in hand. First, the example of Abraham and then Rahab. And so in verse 21, he begins with Abraham. "Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he offered up his son Isaac on the altar?" Now, we might think there's something wrong with that statement because in reality, we're justified by our faith and not by our works. But again, James is teaching that genuine saving faith, will be linked to our works. And so in Genesis 22, God commanded Abraham to take his young son Isaac to a mountain and sacrifice him. Now, remember the background of this. God promised Abraham and Sarah in their very old age that they're going to have a son. And this was a promised son, and from this son will come countless descendants and a great nation, namely Israel. But then God commanded Abraham to go sacrifice your son. And so Abraham obeyed. On the way up to the mountain, Isaac he was old enough to perceive. He said, "We got the fire, we got the wood, but where's the lamb? Where's the lamb for the burnt offering?" And Abraham replied that God would provide the lamb. Isaac was bound. He was placed on the wood of the altar. Abraham had the knife raised, but then an angel of the Lord intervened, and God provided a ram for the sacrifice. And so in verses 22 and 23, we read, you see that faith was active along with his works, and faith was completed by his works. And the scripture was fulfilled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him as righteousness, and he was called a friend of God. So Abraham proved that genuine faith will be accompanied by works. You know, the works do not save us, the works cannot save us, but they are proof that we are actually saved. So again, they go hand in hand. And so in verse 24, James declares, you see that a person is justified by works and not by faith alone. So the way that we can say that we're justified by our works is that it's the result, our good works is a result of our genuine faith, which ultimately justifies us before God. James gives a second example, Rahab the prostitute. Her story is in Joshua chapter 2 in the Old Testament. By the way, she's in the lineage of Jesus in Matthew chapter 1, which is very, very interesting as well. That's a great study, that lineage of Jesus in Matthew chapter 1. But in verse 25 here, it says, in the same way, was not also Rahab the prostitute justified by works when she received the messengers and sent them out another way? You may know the story. Joshua was leading the people into the promised land. He sent two spies to go check out the city of Jericho. Word got back to the king of Jericho that the spies were in the city and that somehow Rahab was connected to this. So Rahab hid the spies from the king of Jericho and then secretly got them out of the city. And I encourage you to read Joshua chapter 2 because it's a fascinating study of Rahab's faith in the one true God and then the works that accompanied it. And so she expressed her faith to the spies while they were in her home. And then she got them out. This would be her good works, got them secretly out of the city back to safety. And then, as you probably know, that when the Israelites conquered Jericho, Rahab and her family was spared because of her faith. And so, two great examples. You got Abraham and you got Rahab. And so, James will end this section with an analogy. For as the body apart from the spirit is dead, so also faith apart from works is dead. And so, if our body, physical bodies, get separated from our spirit, our body's dead. Our spirit, if we're believers, we're going to go to heaven. Uh, and so that's the analogy. In the same way, and faith is dead without works. I mean, it's a one thing to say you believe all the right things, you have the intellectual understanding of the right doctrines and the orthodox truths of Christianity, but if that's not backed up by works, then it proves that our faith is not genuine. So here's the takeaway: genuine faith is proved through our good works. Genuine faith is proved through our good works. Well, thank you for joining with 7 to 9 minutes in the book of James. Next time, we're going to get to James chapter 3 on taming the tongue. Again, check out our webpage, convergechurchomaha.org. You have any prayer requests, any questions about what this passage means? You want to go a little bit deeper? You have any questions about what it means to follow Jesus? I encourage you to message me through Facebook. And so until next time, may the Lord bless you and have a great day.